Scene 1, take 2.
Action.
This is the PM8
Film podcast,
broadcasting from the Greenville Fine Arts Center.
And I'm the host and the teacher, Eric Rogers. Okay, so I'm talking today with my advanced film students, and we're discussing the nature of storytelling in movies and television. And we're discussing whether, the culture changes what Hollywood decides to put out, or does Hollywood influence what's going on in our culture? So what do you guys think?
This is something completely unintended by the director, and he actually got very upset when this happened. But after A Clockwork Orange came out, it inspired tons of copycat gangs to dress up like the white outfits and act like the gang from A Clockwork Orange. You go out and terrorize people and rape people and do all this stuff. And again, it was unintentional. He was actually the movie was kind of doing the opposite, trying to show the harshness of it in a playful way, I guess you would say, but still not in any way glorifying it. And it was just kind of like a nuanced movie. But after the movie came out, it had all these copycat gangs and things like that, and apparently Stanley Kubrick got very upset and mad over it, and that's why they took it, actually pulled it out from London for a long time, from theaters.
So more recently, the narrative has definitely changed by demand of not only people, but movie watchers. Specifically, the audience is no longer like, we can afford to go to movies. Everyone can see a movie, and people will see a movie, and they want to see themselves in a movie.
Okay, so let's talk about the protagonist. So how have the protagonists changed? Typically, they're white men. More recently, if you look at the films that have been nominated for Golden Globes and for the Oscars this year, you see things like Mary Queen of Scots and The Favorite, The Wife, and a couple others where their main character is a strong woman. There's a couple others that were nominated, such as If Bill Street Could Talk, Black Klansman, Black Panther, where you actually had people of color who were the main characters, and were also making up a significant portion of the cast in the film. So over time, how has that changed?
I was reading a story the other day about a young boy who discovered the Into the Spider-Verse, a young black boy, and he said, wow, Spider-Man can look like me. I thought that was incredibly important, and with the awards this movie's winning and the look that it brings in is just amazing. Things like The Favorite, which is an LGBT movie all about women with a historical narrative, that's incredible. And it's not necessarily a faithful historical adaptation, but it is exceedingly more entertaining than most other historical narrative films that are vaguely reliable. It's great, and we have those stories already. Let's expand on it. Stuff like that is just really important for everyone to see, because we can't continue to fill our historical narrative as a nation with another white man, another white man, another white man.
Well, why do you think they keep remaking a lot of the same stories, though?
It's easier a lot of the time. Instead of coming up with an original idea, they said, hey, let's just take this story, rehash it, maybe add in some smartphones to make it more relevant, and then sell it again with the same package, basically, like a new design. And then people already know what it is. They've been watching it or seeing it for years, so they're more apt to go spend their money on a movie ticket or things like that, or buy it or stream it, whatever way they won't make money off of it. And they're more apt to actually make their money back. So from business-wise, it's less risky, and it's a more solid way of making money. But from an art perspective, it could be pretty crap.
Like, the amount of Disney remakes there have been lately have been crazy. They're remaking almost every old classic Disney movie. And one of the examples I can think of right now is The Lion King, which is basically the same plot. The trailer is scene for scene the exact same thing as the original. It's clearly just trying to make money off of just, wow, it's the same story, but now it's CGI and looks kind of cool. The exact same thing, but taking all of the magic of the first one with all the beautiful animations and character designs and just making it CGI, which will date so easily. So it's clearly trying to just make money off of childhood nostalgia and maybe just trying to reach newer viewers, like the kids, so maybe they'll go back and watch the original too. And they've done that with like Beauty and the Beast. They're doing Aladdin, Mulan, Maleficent. They're just literally taking every single classic movie and making it slightly newer.
I think another thing is that a lot of these, not even just the Disney remakes too, but also like the sequels like Finding Dory and Incredibles 2 and Toy Story. I feel like a lot of people are taking into account that these movies came out when us, like Gen Z, were very young, so already we're going to want to go and see it when it comes out. Like, oh, they're making a second Incredibles, we got to go see it because we grew up with that movie. But also, like, the millennials are having kids now. Their kids, they're going to want to take their kids to see these movies because they grew up with these kinds of movies, so they're like, it's actually kind of smart way to make money.
I want to bring up some statistics that Sydney brought up yesterday in an article she did from American Cinematographer magazine. It was you, Sydney, that had the General Hospital article, right? So what was it? Was it 14,000 episodes of General Hospital? Yeah. As of February 2018, we have 14,000 episodes of General Hospital, which further proves that we can continue to make shows about nothing, not in a Seinfeld fun kind of this show is about real life sort of a way, but the 7th floor of a hospital.
All right, well, since you brought up General Hospital, let's talk about subjects that seem to be popular, because there seem to be a lot of medical dramas. There's General Hospital, there's Chicago Hope, there was ER, those were all big hits, Grey's Anatomy, so that brings us back to the whole franchise concept. But it seems to me that's a pretty popular topic, and it may only be second to cop shows, because there's lots and lots of cop shows. And there's courtroom shows. Are there other topics that just seem to relate to lots of people that they make a lot of different TV shows about?
The reason we make a lot of shows based around these careers, like being a doctor, being a lawyer, being a firefighter, is because most people who like watch enough TV to watch those shows aren't a cop or a doctor or a firefighter, so they're watching it to kind of, I don't know, I feel like it is also another form of escapism.
What I was going to say is also, these type of shows are probably the easiest thing to write for in the history of writing, because one thing you need to keep people entertained is conflict in your plot. And if you're writing about people dying in a building every day, I mean, that's like pure conflict. I mean, that's really easy to write for. Also, like fire shows and cop shows, like, oh, there's always going to be like some type of fire somewhere, or there's going to be some criminal they got to go apprehend. I mean, it's just like, it's one of those things we have to write like multiple episodes a week. You gotta just like pump out scripts like it's like clockwork. So I mean, it's probably one of the easiest subjects to write for too, I think. I mean, it'd probably be harder to write for a good one. Obviously, that's very hard to write for anything good. But if you want to try and just write crap to make money, then that's probably one of the easiest subjects to write for.
Okay, so back on that, I mentioned cop shows, courtroom dramas, medical dramas all seem very popular. Can you think of anything else like that? I mean, for a while, Westerns were a big thing, but nobody's really into Westerns. They haven't been for a long time. So are there other topics like that?
Shows like we got Narcos, we got the new Narcos, whatever that's doing. We got Mindhunter, which is about serial killers. We got like all these crime shows about criminals. It seems like now, for some reason, it's just like going crazy. People are going crazy about like crime and criminal shows.
When I watch crime shows from the UK, they're very different. There's no car chases. There's not really like any fist fights. There's no guns. They're fascinating. Is that like a reflection on our society here in the U.S.? Americans
Love to watch violence because that's something that is in our, I'll say it again, I feel like I've said this a lot, but our national narrative. Guns are important to our history. We are the Second Amendment country.
Over time, we've seen more of a drift towards the movies that kind of reflect the consequences of gun use more. Like, you know, back in the day, you just get the Tommy gun and you go crazy. But like over time, as we've had more, a little bit, not much, but more reform for guns and things like that. And I think we've seen more films, especially recently, that kind of show the consequences of people's actions with guns. And not that's just like some like play toy. That's like an actual weapon that can hurt somebody. And you know, you see it for more like, you kind of see the other side of it. So it's more of like a nuanced thing where it's like someone may have a gun to protect themselves or someone may use a gun, but then you see all the consequences of their actions.
Advertising in film. We have product placement in films. Films have to make money to continue to be made. How does advertising affect the way the story is told?
So advertising originally just started as being so simple. Like you'd see like a Coke bottle or something in a movie, and it's progressed a lot to a point where it's become a part of the movie. In Castaway, for example, in the beginning of the movie, there are FedEx boxes everywhere, and that's what helps save the character because it's got stuff in the FedEx boxes. And also, one of the most iconic scenes in the movie is the main character crying out for Wilson, which is a Wilson's volleyball. which was trying to get people to go to this place. And they're just interrupting movies to a point where some movies are becoming advertisements, which, as brought up before, the Emoji Movie, which is a movie for children about like apps. For example, there is the Just Dance app. There is Dropbox, which I don't know why a kid would need Dropbox.
I just wanted to mention this, and I think it's something you had in your notes. I remember seeing it, is the World War Z business, about I guess Brad Pitt just wants a Pepsi at the end of the world, and he stops running from zombies to get a Pepsi. That's embarrassing.
Or on Independence Day, the world is saved because of an Apple computer.
Thank you for listening
To the PM8 Film Podcast.
Taped at the Fine Arts Center in Greenville, South Carolina.
And cut.